Hey, here at 633 Wake Up, my passion is to wake up the believer on the inside of us to live like we actually believe. I pray that for me, and I pray that for you. I pray that our eyes will be open to see what the Father of Heaven has for us in our daily lives. I pray that we have ears to hear what the Spirit of God is saying to us, where He wants us to think, where He wants us to act and react and intervene. I pray that we have hearts to receive and react in faith and that we go for it, that we do it, whatever that is. Sometimes for me, it's to shh, be quiet, don't talk. And sometimes for me, that's to speak up, to pray for somebody else. Sometimes it is to give. Sometimes it is to withhold. You know, you just never know the way that God leads us in our daily lives with ourselves, with your stinking thinking, and in how we live and move and have our being here on the earth. We have the opportunity to live in the kingdom of heaven while we are on earth. And that is what I pray, what I believe, what I'm passionate about, that we move in that and not live in fear. So today we're just going to pick up in Matthew of the Message Bible. Oh, by the way, in case you're new here, I'm Kimberly. So we are in the Message Bible. We're at Matthew chapter 25, and we're going to pick up today at verse 14. And it says that this is the story about investment. So we just finished, and Jesus is still talking to us about what the kingdom is like. Yesterday we talked about God's kingdom was like 10 young virgins being prepared. And we talked about how we are the lamp and how we keep our lamp prepared. Now, today we're talking about this. It says, it's also like a man going off on an extended trip. He called his servants together and delegated responsibilities. To one, he gave $5,000, to another, 2,000, and to a third, 1,000, depending on their abilities. Then he left. Right off, the first servant went to work and doubled his master's investment. The second did the same, but the man with the single 1,000 dug a hole and carefully buried his master's money. After a long absence, the master of those three servants came back and settled up with them. The one given $5,000 showed him how he had doubled his investment. His master commended him. Good work. You did your job well. From now on, be my partner. The servant with the 2,000 showed how he had doubled his master's investment. His master commended him. Good work. You did your job well. From now on, be my partner. The servant given 1,000 said, Master, I know you have high standards and hate careless ways, that you demand the best and make no allowances for error. I was afraid I might disappoint you, so I found a good hiding place and secured your money. Here it is, safe and sound, to the last cent. The master was furious. That's a terrible way to live. It's criminal to live cautiously like that. If you knew I was after the best, why did you do less than the least? The least you could have done would have been to invest the sum with the bankers, where at least I would have gotten a little interest. Take the 1,000 and give it to the one who risked the most, and get rid of this play it safe who won't go out on a limb. Throw him out into utter darkness. Now, when we listen to this today, and especially out of the Message of Bible where it's talking about dollars, you and I instantly think of money and what we're doing with our money. And are we investing our money in the kingdom? Maybe we're thinking, am I paying my tithe? I don't know exactly what's going through your little mind, but in most translations, the word money here is the word talent. And we could talk about money. There's many messages on money in the Bible, and that's an important thing, what we do with our money. But my heart goes to the talents. And when I think of the talents, when I read this story, I think about the giftings, the abilities, the skills, the things I do well within me. Now, I have, you know, been bold to speak and to reach out and to talk, and for most of my life, even as a little child, I probably talked before I walked. And most of my life, I've had the world telling me to be quiet, sit down, shh, you don't need to talk, lower your voice, sit down, be quiet, sit down, be quiet. And if God is trying to raise me up to speak, the enemy is going to try and get me down to be quiet. So if that is kind of the history of my life, that gives me some indication of my giftings. But when your heart is hurt, you tend to bury your giftings, right? Sometimes we can react in rebellion and we can just talk more and we can just talk louder. I've been there and I've done that. And when I've got born from above, I was super excited. So I was just like that, little child who wanted to tell everybody everything, so excited that was going on in my life. When I became born from above, I was that again. I was bold and I was telling everybody that I knew, family, neighbors, friends, you know, I was telling everybody about what God had done in my life. And guess what? They weren't so happy to hear it. So again, I became pushed down and became quieter, offended, hurt, feeling rejection, and, you know, wrong. Then I began to have visions, pictures, words. Some of them I've shared here, lots of them I have not shared. So when I began to hear God tell me things, and I thought they were for telling everybody all the time about everything, you know, as a new believer, and my excitement and my passion and my, whatever you want to call it, when I heard something, I felt it was my duty and responsibility to go and tell maybe the pastor that, this is what's wrong and this is how to fix it. This is what's wrong and this is how to fix it. And there were times that I had insight or revelation or something into other people's lives. And I felt the same way. It was my responsibility, my duty to 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 let it all out. Took me years to learn that there is a timing and that there is a love and that there is a counsel and a gentleness to in sharing things. Some things God shows us aren't for sharing. Some things we need that discernment and that time to be speaking out or to be sharing. Anyways, what I'm trying to say here is that my journey caused me to have fear, doubt, insecurities, and I'm looking today at this story of the 5,000, the 2,000, and the 1,000 as the giftings and abilities that God gave us. And I know that I went into a place, whatever my amount was, I can't tell you, but I do know that I was very fearful of the master. I was so afraid of being wrong, and that's um, kind of what happened. I had went into years ago. I went into a time of deception, and the funny thing about being in deception is you don't know it because you're being deceived. And yet, when truth comes and healing comes and deliverance comes and you're set free from the deception, you know, I guess it can go two ways. It's like you could have the same person who's had the same trauma, and for whatever reason, whether it's, our human nature decision that we choose to be a victim or we choose to be victorious. So when you come out of a deception, it's kind of the same way that you can choose to be a victim and never trust God again and never trust yourself again and bury your talent, your giftings, your abilities, what God's designed you for. Or you can choose to be victorious and trust Him that He's the one who pours through us, who leads us, who guides us, who, we can pull closer to Him and be victorious in Him, not on our own. And so this is my journey coming out of that deception that I was in. I definitely went to a place where I was burying my talent. And I had said and done things that I believed were directed by God at the time. And it turns out that, what I was believing did not line up. And so I felt like I had ruined God's reputation. I really did. And I felt like I couldn't trust myself and I couldn't trust Him. So, years beyond that now, here I am again and feeling to me like a little more vulnerable than I was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Because here I am on the internet. Anybody can hear me. Not everybody does, it's not growing as fast as, maybe I had wanted. But I'm telling you that there's a part of me that doesn't want it to grow and have more awareness made to me. And then there's a part of it that wants it to grow so much for people to believe in Jesus and become born from above. I'm always tossed and torn. And my true passion is that I am with others, that I am with people. I have this thing that God gave me, whether it's 5,000, 2,000, or 1,000. I have treated it often in my life like 1,000, that I have been so afraid of doing it wrong for the master that I have buried it. I have been so afraid of screwing it up on him and ruining his reputation, of losing it, that I have buried it. Very rarely do I let it be known or let it be seen in my real life, in everyday life. Except now here I am doing this. So, what am I talking about? For me, I'm talking about, those prophetic giftings, that the ability to know things that I don't know, to have, it's kind of like kind of like abstract. I don't know. It's like I can have a picture or a word or a question or a vision or just know that I know something. It's just how it happens. And when I am praying with other people or for other people, often that's what happens. And sometimes I don't share. I just bury it because I'm so afraid I'm wrong. And these words convict me this morning because I know that God is calling me out on a limb. He is saying that I've given you this and I want you to invest in it. I want you to use it. I want you to move in it. I want you to, what good is a talent, whether yours is, maybe you're an artist, maybe you're a painter, beautiful things. I wish that was me. How many times I have prayed that I would have the ability to paint the things I see in heavenly visions. And I see so much of this in my Facebook feed that, they have these prophetic paintings and this prophetic art. It's beautiful. I love it. You know, are you ever envious of somebody else's talent? Right? Well, sometimes I am. I wish I could do that. I can't do that. I've tried. What a flop. Looks like a kindergarten picture. And God is saying to you today, too. I believe that He is saying to you, whatever it is that is your gifting, your skill, like Bobby Connor says, if you can fog a mirror, honey, you ain't done. So, whatever that is that God has put in you, you're not too old and you are not too immature in it. We have to practice that skill. We have to practice that gifting. We have to learn to grow in it, to move in it. And when we bury it, isolate it, it doesn't do that. It doesn't grow. It doesn't flourish. And I believe that God is calling me today and He's calling you today to go out on a limb. He says here, get rid of that. Play it safe and won't go out on a limb, you know? So today I'm saying in a very long way that what has God given you? What has God given you as a gift and a talent? Are you burying it? Or are you willing with me to go out on a limb, to give it up, playing that safe? Because I'm going to do that. Got some things coming up in the near future with 633 Wake Up and partnering with somebody else. And, we're going deeper or we're going higher and we're being more out there and investing our gifts and our talents. And so I hope you stay tuned. It's probably going to be a few weeks yet, but I'm going out in a limb and I'm not going to play it safe. I am going to play it with God. You and me are the hands, the feet, the mouth, the money, the hugs, the caring, the giving. That is our part of what we do here on earth to be in the kingdom of heaven. So today I bless you and I pray that you and I go out and be a blessing. Till next time, bye bye.